All right, hello everyone. Welcome to this week's exercise. So this week we're gonna take a look at two different way to improve your drawing skills. So that'll be one for linear perspective for drawing like a landscape or cityscape, and two it would be human proportion. So a lot of you that I know that you're interested in drawing like a human figure, but you seem to get it not quite right. That is because of the proportion. So I just wanted to I just wanted to share these two basic techniques on drawing, a really simple technique of drawings. So we talked about how linear perspective is achieved through creating one or two certain points, or three sometimes. So let's get started. So for first one, actually I want to divide this page up. So I'm just gonna draw a line like this, and I'm gonna use this for the first 1-point perspective, and this for the 2-point perspective. So for this one, I want you to establish a vanishing point. That is the point that is where all the lines is converging into one point. So I want to experience a little bit of a lower angle vanishing point somewhere around here. I'm gonna mark it right there. I'm gonna give it an X so that you guys can see. And then I want you to create another line that is on second line from the bottom, somewhere around here. And the very actually just make another line that is corresponding to this line that I just created. So say I want a line right over there, and I want you to make another point somewhere around here. Actually, another point will be this guy right here. And also after that, I want you to set a height of your perspective. So I kind of want to play around with a little bit more exaggerated, maybe. No, not too exaggerated. This is a demo. So this line has to be on the same line as vertically same line as this line right here. So that will be somewhere around here. So I'm gonna mark it right there, and same goes for this guy. So I'm just gonna follow this line horizontally, and then mark this line right over there. So now you are all set to create a 1-point perspective. So we're gonna take a ruler, and then we're gonna connect these lines. So with this line, I'm gonna connect these two dots right here. So voila. And this guy right here. And I'm gonna connect this line as well. But I am not going to connect these two lines because I want this line to go all the way out. So I want you to create a line that goes all the way out to the edge of the frame meaning this guy right here. Then another one right over there. So now we've successfully created a 1-point perspective. So how can you use this kind of a technique to your drawing? Well, if you are drawing like a street view of the scene, we can start drawing like with this kind of a guideline, we can start drawing like buildings. So we talked about how the line that is going over horizontally is called the horizon level. So this will be the horizon level right here, and all the vertical lines in 1-point perspective has to be perpendicular to this horizon level. So we can start creating these perpendicular lines to create like buildings. So let's just do that. First, I'm gonna create like a sidewalk here as well. So to create a sidewalk, I could create something like looking like this. So that's going to be my sidewalk. And for this, I'm gonna make it a little bit thicker, like this. Okay. And then from here, I'm gonna start drawing my buildings. So it's gonna look like all one thing. Maybe that's a little bit too tall, but I'm not too sure. So I'm gonna start drawing, but remember that it has to be perpendicular this line as well. So I mean parallel to that line. Relative. So I can create a building looking like this. Here it's got a little gap there, just to make it, you know, interesting. Then here I could make a really tall building here. So I still have to create this line. I have to still make some kind of a parallel line to this guy right here. So make a parallel line to that. Here to here. And I can like this and then connect it right over there. That is how I am creating this series of different buildings here by connecting dots in here and there. Okay. Can we create another one right over there? Does it make sense? No, it doesn't make sense. So, and yeah, so here we successfully created this series of buildings and it looks very convincing to our eyes. Without this kind of a guideline, it would have been really difficult to achieve creating this kind of buildings. So from here, I could start creating some kind of a like a characteristic to the buildings as well. So could start drawing something this to kind of give it a cafe looking scene right there. This is going to be the door. Here it's gonna have like a one of those fancy entrance. To looking like this. And so on. So in here you can start drawing like a tree. Draw one right over here. Something like that. So this is very convincing looking street right there. And I can make it a little bit more special by adding just like a height to the sidewalk and things like that. So there we go. And we can do the same thing for the for this side right there, right here. So we can start creating different buildings using this technique of by borrowing the power of 1-point perspective. And that here all of a sudden we're gonna have like a smaller building, you know, because it's my imagination, right? Nothing's impossible in this case. So this has to go there. Notice that all the vertical lines is perpendicular to this horizon level. So yeah, so I want you to explore with this and make sure that your lines are clean and all straight. So here, by using this 1-point perspective, I was able to create this really interesting, I want to say really interesting, but very visually pleasing view of a city. Where's the eraser? Oh, there you go. Look at all this smudge. I'm just gonna clean this out a little bit. There you go. Alright, so that is just by establishing the points, first vanishing point, and then the lines that we are going to use for this linear perspective, and just by connecting those lines and then start drawing like a vertical lines that is perpendicular to this horizon level, we were able to create this kind of optical illusion of space within this 2D imagery right here. So next thing that we're going to explore is 2-point perspective. So 2-point perspective, we have to have 2 vanishing points. So I want you to create 2 vanishing points. So I'm gonna create one right there and then go straight. And I want you to make a straight line going across the entire canvas or paper in this case. And then and establish the center point that you wanna make it as a center point, and then I'm gonna use this axis right here. I'm gonna just make it a little extreme like this. So I'm gonna connect these 2 lines right over there. So now you're all set to create a 2-point perspective. So just like what we did, let's just connect these lines here and there. Yeah, no choice. Connect these lines. At first it's gonna look like what is going on, but once I start drawing, including more visual elements, you'll understand what I'm trying to achieve right here. So that line right there. Actually, I'm just gonna use a pen because it's no, I might make a mistake. So let's make a sidewalk as well. So notice how I'm drawing a lot of like city street views and things like that, because that is what the 1-point perspective is really, linear perspective is really good at. The sidewalks. No, so I'm just gonna close off the frame right there. Just, you know, just to make things pretty. This is art class after all, right? So, not an art history. So there we go. And here, what we can do is we can also create a perpendicular line that is perpendicular to the horizon level, and then start creating like a cityscape or like a street view. So something like that. And if you can create something polar structure like that, then I'm gonna create a perpendicular line. Does that make sense? Oh, it doesn't make sense that way, does it? No, it doesn't make sense. No, sorry. Because you can't really... No, you still can. This is confusing. Sorry, guys. The optical illusion is very confusing subject, I think. One right there. There, and then create it down. Yeah, it does make sense. Then I'm gonna create a shorter but wider building. Vertical line right over there, and then creating like a vertical perpendicular line to that. Then skinny tall building at the end of the right there. So I need to erase that. And go down. Yeah. Voila. Okay, so now we were able to create this kind of a 2-point perspective where the vanishing, we get to see this edge, this corner of the architecture right here, and then we see these 2 vanishing points right here. So if we were to have more canvas, we could create another vanishing point, another converging line coming like this and coming like that to create this kind of a really cool effect. But here we only have this limited surface, so I want you to just play around with this. So here I'm gonna connect line right there, and the next building is going to be a little bit shorter. So something like this. The next building is going to be very tall, very skinny. So it's to be like this. This is quite extreme, but hey, nothing's impossible. I'm gonna make it go over this center axis like this, just to kind of make it more interesting. You know, just by creating this, I think this very interesting composition right there. Create another tall building. This, and then one short building, something like this. Alrighty. So now we were able to create this kind of a landscape. So if you start erasing these lines here and there, you get to see what I was trying to achieve. Okay, erase. Erase right there. All right, so now we can create this kind of a view of this corner of the architectural scene, and then we can create these 2-point perspective. So with this exercise, I want you to just play around with creating different kind of a linear perspective. You can lower the horizon level a little bit lower to create a different effect, or you can have it all the way up and then see what it does and things like that. So, and also you don't have to draw like things like a street or like a cityscape. You can, with the 2-point perspective, you can also draw a box by using 2-point perspective. By if you were to connect something like this, like what we just did, and just by creating 2 vertical lines, you can create this kind of a 3-dimensional box in like a view like this. Alright, so I want you to play around with this linear perspective, and for the second sheet that you have, well, I want you to use it as in a horizontal lens. I mean, what do you call it? Horizontal orientation, and then I want you to create some kind of a drawing using this technique of the linear perspective. It doesn't have to be a very elaborate drawing, but it'd be better if you're spending time, might as well make some kind of nice looking work, right? So I want you to create one work using implementing this technique of linear perspective. All right, so that is it for the first exercise. And second exercise, it is going to be human proportion. So this is very advanced drawing skill. So usually in universities, in North Carolina System University, 4-year university, they have a drawing 1 and 2, and then with drawing 1 and 2, you can take a figure drawing class. I'm not sure how in community college system they do, but the figure drawing is usually considered as a advanced class, because all this proportion is very hard to achieve. I mean, I've been an artist for more than 10 years, but still this is something that I always have to really be careful. So I created this kind of a example on the left, and then I created this kind of a guideline so that you can follow. So everyone is different, but when it comes to like I'm gonna use a little bit of a thinner, harder pencil here, because I don't want to smudge everywhere. when it comes to drawing a human figure, they say that human figure are 8 heads, so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is just idealized form, but usually I found that people are around 7.5. But if you're looking like a models, they can go like 8 or close to the 8. But no one is actually exactly 8 head, and it actually is kind of rare to see people like that, because this would be very, very tall human being. So, but still, in idealized figure drawing, they just use the 8 head. But in more like a real life drawing, I just kind of use like 7 or 7.5, but sometimes like 6 or in extreme cases. So everyone is different, but whenever I'm drawing like a human figure, I always like to draw the head first, because I can use that as a reference to kind of create the proportion of my entire figure. So because we know that we're going to using this 8 head technique here. So I want you to create a head right here. Like I said, it doesn't have to be pretty, so I'm just gonna draw this kind of a oval shape. And first, and then what I want you to do, what you can do, this is just a suggestion, so you don't have to follow. I'm gonna create a line that is going straight down from the center of the head. Well, I should have included this into the exercise, the worksheet, but hey, it's always good to make your own. So in the center line, actually I'm going to use my ruler to make it more prettier, because we're all about that aesthetic, right? So right down in the middle, just like that. And then from here you need to draw a neck. So if you can see, this kind of this bones right here is located right over there. So a neck, it is going to be about similar width as the head. I want you to draw something like this, and then we're gonna connect the shoulder line with the neck, so we can make it a little bit closer so that you guys can see one better. There we go. I'm gonna connect from this line to this line right there. Is a little bit thicker, softer pencil. So from there to there, and then next thing that I usually do is drawing out the rib cage. Rib cage meaning the upper torso right here, from here to there. So that is about below right over there, and then the width of that upper torso, the waist, I'm gonna keep it about this. So I'm gonna draw a little bit, wider waist than this figure right here. So I'm just gonna connect these two lines, but with a light line like this. So that is 3 head right here, and from here I'm gonna make that I'm gonna make that. I forgot the name of the. I forgot the name of the bone here. What do you call it? Anyway, this bone right here. They had a specific term for that, but some people call it love handle, right? So I'm gonna, from there, I'm gonna create another line that is somewhere around here, around the forehead. I'm gonna make another artificial line right over there, and then kind of create this kind of a shape. And with the center, we're gonna connect it. So now we have the upper torso, and usually that belly button is right over there or somewhere up top, depends on the person. Okay, and then next thing that I like to do is drawing the arms. So arms is really difficult. So one way that you can achieve is by establishing a point that you want. So I already made like a little point right there where the middle section of the arm is located at. So by connecting, I'm gonna draw a line so that I can direct the direction of the arm, because usually sometimes someone might have like a different posture like this, where so you're gonna have to kind of like draw arm extending like this. But here actually this feels a little bit longer, so if I have it right there and then right there, this is going to be completely different story. And also next is going to be finding out the wrist. So wrist is usually sits on the fourth head right there. So I'm gonna point a line, create a line right there, and then I'm gonna connect those two lines. And from here to there, it is going to be the hand. So we can create like a drawing hand is really difficult, by the way. We can create something like that. And also here I can create a like that. It seems, I think it's a little bit too long because it's out of proportion. Maybe I'm wrong. I can measure it real quick by doing this. Yeah, I was wrong. It's not too long. Huh. Well, anyway. So now that we created this general direction of a limb, we can kind of make the we can kind of draw the fat and muscle around. So I'm gonna make this figure a little bit muscular here. So this kind of a shape that you draw is something that you really have to kind of study. Muscles and things like that. So if you go to like a really traditional art school, they make you like memorize all this kind of a, you know, the muscles and everything. And also okay, and then they say that the nipple is on the two head, but that is usually not the case. It's, I'll say, somewhere around here. So then here usually have this kind of a the armpit right over there because we're lowering the nipple a little bit. Here is going to look something like this, and since this is the arm is stretched out, that this is actually going to be raised like this. So and then shoulder muscle, this, and like this, and tricep. Wow, a little bit of three-dimensionality right there. Alrighty, so next thing, then we're gonna move on to the legs. So from this bone to that bone, we're gonna create another knee, point where the knee sits at. So that's usually a 6 head. So let's create a 2 circle like this. I don't like to, because no one's leg is straight like that, you know, let's be honest, right? So from the crouch, I'm gonna lower a little bit because there's usually the crouch have a little bit of a space there. So I'm gonna, from somewhere here, I'm just like the limbs, I'm gonna create like a general direction of the leg so that it'll be straight down. And same goes for limb. I could do something crazy like this and then do something like that, but make sure that from here to there the length is same as from here to there. So it looks like it has to be a little bit shorter. So this all the, when it comes to figure drawing, the proportion is everything. So proportion. So let's start drawing the quads. This and this knees are really weird looking part of our body. If you haven't had a time on closely investigating what they look like, you'll see what I mean. Bones, this, and then that ankle sits right over there. And then feet, I'm just gonna draw something like this. Feet is even harder to draw than the hand, I think. Especially this kind of a foreshortened what's it called, feet. But here I'm gonna play around this hip bone kind of extending like this, and then the knee is actually facing down because that's how the body is rotated. And then this calves line kind of looks like this, and then just sheen, and then like this, I will assume. Oh, excuse me. Something like this. I'm not too sure, but looks about right, I'll say. It looks a little too thick, so has to a little bit thinner. Yeah, the figure drawing is very difficult. But anyway, so that is the using proportion to draw this human figure. Oh, I'm sorry, I was way up there. So notice how much of a detail that goes into just drawing this human figure, all this science and this kind of a geometric proportion. So here, obviously, I'm not expecting you to create like a really great looking human figure here, but still, I want you to, you know, kind of follow this kind of a shapes and proportions and see what you can achieve with this. So, and if you do the half of the human, you can get a little creative and start creating your own posture like this. So notice that the limbs, because the length of the limbs is usually where it throws off on a when you see a bad drawing. So make sure that from length from here to there is it matches from here to there, and so on. Feet looks a little too small. Feet are really quite large. This length from here to there is the length of the feet. I know, I'm not lying. A lot of people, you know, get shocked when I say that, but that is very true. So, heel, something like that. So make sure that from this line to that line, this line to this line, this corresponds. Same goes for this to there. It seems like, it feels like it's a little bit too long. At the same time, it's supposed to be foreshortened a little bit. But hey, it's not the end of the world. So I want you to play around with this proportion and see what you can achieve. If this is very difficult and advanced techniques in drawing, so I want you to take your time and then just following one by one. All right, so that is it for this week's assignment. So that is just two one of the most popular, at the same time most important techniques when it comes to drawing things that is true to our vision, our visual world. I feel like we had a lot of experience in drawing different things, such as like shading also count as the drawing. So I don't think we need to go over that again. So yeah, so these two are the actually three, because you're going to be doing another one of these. So these three is going to be this week's activity, and this will be due by April 2nd. And also, I've noticed that a lot of you are asking for to send like a grade to you're like a teacher, or update the grade. So if you need anything like that, just give me at least like a few days notice, because I have a lot of students. I teach almost 7 classes, so it's kind of hard for me to really keep up with the grading sometimes. Especially like the other school that I am teaching at just got back from the spring break, so it's really busy right now. So just give me a heads up so that I can, you know, respond to that. And yeah, so if you have any questions, just shoot me an email, and I'll see you guys next week.